Chancellor for Health Affairs. Pleased to be here representing Chancellor Emeritus as we continue the University of Illinois Strategic Planning Initiative discussion. Today offers the UIC community another opportunity to participate in the university-wide strategic planning process. Our goal from this session is to gain more insight from your unique perspective and to hear your comments on the draft university-wide plan. Now, as we move through the presentations and discussions here today, you will see that we are still in the shaping phase of the work, and we can keep in mind how our efforts at UIC here in Rockford will also best support the University of Illinois system and the President's goals. I should also mention that this session is being webcast. Are we on? Are we webcast now? Good. So we have an even wider audience than those in the room with us today. And if you have any comments that you think of later, please do submit them via the Strategic Plan website. So this is my second trip to Rockford since I started on January 1st. I'm honored to lead the Academic Health Center at UIC, and I look forward to working with our regional campuses. You are an important part of the university and vital to our mission to provide education, research, clinical care, and public service to the state of Illinois. Now, during my visit a couple of weeks ago, I had the opportunity to meet with the dean and the regional directors from medicine, pharmacy, and nursing, to hear from student representatives, and to meet with several civic and community leaders. The message was absolutely clear to me. UIC Rockford is a vital part of a vibrant community and a tremendous resource not only for Rockford and the university, but also for the state of Illinois. Already, I'm impressed by the partnerships that you have developed in the Rockford community. The ambulatory experience and rural health programs for medical students in Rockford is quite remarkable. The Rural Pharmacy Program, or R-Pharm, in Rockford gives students a thorough grounding in cultural competencies and medical issues specific to rural areas. The College of Nursing, Rockford Regional Campus students have clinical practice opportunities through a network of affiliations with regional hospitals and primary care clinics. The Rockford campus can help us lead the way as we work to develop interdisciplinary models of care. UIC's regional campuses play an important role in delivery for the state and in educating a healthcare workforce capable of addressing the diverse needs of the state of Illinois. We will value your perspective today in this discussion. So thank you, President Colleen, for providing this opportunity for UIC Rockford to add our experience and insights to this discussion. So please join me in welcoming President Colleen to the podium. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody, and I think it's my second or third trip here, and delighted to see you all. And mostly we're in listening mode, so it's not a long presentation, but there will be a short presentation to start. I'd like to acknowledge Trustee Courts' presence here, and any blame is due because he was on the search committee that led to me, that led to this, that led to et cetera, and he votes. Oh, thank you. I didn't know that. And with this is a we have some text to look at, and we decided we were going to be radically transparent and just put everything on the website, all the committee's deliberations, the different versions, the comments, and so forth, so that if you really are a strategic planning junkie, you can look at the whole evolution. But the first draft, the zeroth order draft, is very much that. It's to get the conversation going. So none of what I'm going to show you is cast in concrete, but it'll give you a flavor for the thinking that's come in. And it's been grassroots thinking. It hasn't been a top-down. It's been based pretty much, in fact, on commentary at sessions like this, and including here. So this is important use of your time. I hope you feel so, and thank you for being here. So we do have it may last, it may not last, a kind of overall title for the, we're not calling it a strategic plan so much as a strategic framework. We have 3 major universities with campuses that fit inside a system, and we're talking about the sort of chapeau or the overarching vision. And it's very important that everybody gets this. This is not to supplant or displace or dismiss any strategies said they couldn't. So it's a might have competencies across us, not just webcast and then forgotten about, but we'll take careful notes, and the steering committee will digest your thoughts and ideas. And so when I sit down, Bob, you're going to moderate a conversation, so please have your thoughts and comments ready, and they can be as critical as you like. The elephant in the room has to be exposed if there is one. We need to have unvarnished input and filtered input. Of course, positive comments are welcome too. So anything that you think is important. Maybe you see something is missing or something is overly emphasized or underemphasized. And I'm only going to give you a very high level look at the current draft. And it's changing almost daily now because we are heading towards the May board meeting. You'll recognize some of those names. I won't go through them, but I want to thank them all for being willing to do this. It is a bit of a forced march because we want to get it done, and we don't want it to be a major tome that has footnotes and annexes and appendices and lists everybody's favorite thing, but we want it to be a compelling, maybe 8 to 12 page read, short read on a short flight or whatever, that is compelling, fresh, actually stunning. We want it to be different and stunning and authentically University of Illinois. And that's easy to say, harder to do. We are going to have a professional writer on board pretty soon because the drafts are starting to emerge and some of the substance and content is there, but it will need to be professionalized. And so don't get into text editing or, well, words are important. So if there's a word that you can think of a better, but if there are typos, please forgive for now. But we did want to get everything out there, and we have got a lot of information. So what's happened so far is this was kicked off in May last year with a charge from the board to develop a system-wide plan. We had a retreat in a beautiful retreat home near the Urbana campus called Allerton, and it was also a board of trustees meeting. Then the steering committee was appointed in September, and they've been hard at work, as I've said. From November to December, there was stakeholder engagement across campuses, and there's been a lot of that. So, for example, in Springfield on November the 9th, there was a town hall meeting. There were office hours with the chancellor and myself sitting in the student union getting input, and anybody showed up for a couple of hours, and that was really exciting. We had focus groups. We had groups of students, student affairs, the leadership, donors, alumni, community members, and they all got engaged. At Urbana, just a few days later, we again had town hall like this, a couple of hours, a lot of great content in all of these things. Some aha moments, I would say, at least for me, wow, I had never thought of it that way before, and some of that language has been adopted. We had meetings with deans and provosts. We met with the Dean's Advisory Group at UIC just a few days ago. AP staff, CS staff, again, donors and alumni in focus groups. And the office hours with the Chancellor was, again, sitting in the student union with anybody, on any topic on their mind. That was interesting too. So we're trying to exhibit transparency, accessibility, and then openness to criticism. And you do get criticized when you put out text. Not everybody agrees with the balance and the emphasis, but that criticism and that input really helps you get a product that has true ownership across the institution. And that's really what we need. Then, of course, we went to Chicago and had the same thing on the 30th of November. We went to Peoria. Sarah Rush is on the committee, and she's here somewhere. Perhaps, I don't see it now, but we had an event like this in Peoria, which was very exciting and very important. And so that was good. And we had donors, alumni, we had the mayor, we had local business leadership. It was very much a community effort. So a lot of work has gone in, and the 500 plus participants is probably a big underestimate right now because, well, I mean, if we counted all heads in every one of these town halls, it would be well above that. So we think there have been opportunities to participate, but we're on a fast track now, still to do finalizing a plan, and we'll do this through iterative drafts. So if you've got the sustained tenacity to keep looking, you'll see it modulate and migrate from where it is today to hopefully an end product. And as I said, we want to finalize it in April, that's next month. It's not a huge document, but we want it to be right in the balance and the aspirational thinking, and then present it to the Board of Trustees in May. And then Trustee Courts for the July board retreat, I'm hoping we can have a sort of implementation kickoff for the plan and get into various things. As you know, the process has been underway, then I've described that. The draft plan is available at this website. So it's a couple of clicks. If you start uillinois.edu, you can find it. I think you've got to go to the President's site to get there, and then you find it pretty quickly. That's the URL. And then there's a place for comments. And comments are coming in. They're being characterized, passed through verbatim, but also sort of bundled. And the steering committee is looking at everything. I'm looking at everything as well. So here are our 4 pillars, and then I'm going to just show a few slides and sit down, and we'll have the discussion. And these may change again. So underneath the public's university, we are thinking of a system, and that word hasn't been used that much. And there's some debate whether it's a capital S or a small s. So it's looking like it's not the University of Illinois with campuses, but the University of Illinois system with universities and campuses that belong, and a statewide deployment of capability. So academic excellence, so here's the first pillar, a healthy future for Illinois. Notice Illinois is italicized there. Each pillar has an italicized word, and they make up a 4-word sentence at the end, I hope, I think, maybe, we'll see. So Illinois, we start there because we are grounded in this place, in this time, supported by the taxpayer. And there are a lot of needs that Illinois has for talent recruitment, talent retention, jobs, opportunities, prosperity, pathways forward, community building. And we have a responsibility, a major responsibility to the health of Illinois. And that includes, of course, human health as well as economic health and vibrancy. So we have, on these just high-level bullets, powerful public-private research and development partnerships. And a lot of the thinking is dedicated towards regional versions of that, tailored and appropriate to regions such as the Rockford region or the Peoria region or the Quad Cities or Edwardsville, that things that make sense in those communities with the kind of assets that the university brings to the table. We have a bedrock commitment to civic engagement, and that means more than voting, but it means full-blown participation in liberal learning and the ability to team and discourse and partner and think analytically and critically and read and digest and analyze. That doesn't mean agree necessarily, but it means full-blown participation in civil society with all of its aspects, including political discourse and academic freedom and freedom of speech and but robust intellectual life applied that. So we want that to be a hallmark of our graduates. Present throughout the state, again, revitalizing regional economies, vibrant connections with educational institutions in Illinois, and that means what we're thinking of as horizontal connections, the rest of public higher ed, which is under duress now, as you know, budgetarily, the other public institutions, 4-year institutions, also the 2-year schools, the 30-plus community colleges, and public schools, and pre-K and K through 12. So with the university, not just training teachers and providing in-service and pre-service abilities for teachers, but really being a banner carrier for the whole of public education. Obviously public higher education, but the whole of public education, which is a need too. What's listed last there is an innovative and responsible compact with the state, and that's a kind of a deal between the university and the state that we don't have today, I would admit. We have a political impasse and we don't quite have the predictability of the budgetary outlook, nor do we have the metrics and governance and performance things that we strive to attain. So there will be a bill developed. It's already in a shell bill form in the legislature that would be a compact, an agreement, a deal with the state. And the concept here is that we would have some predictability and robust level of funding for 5 years, but based on an annual appropriation that is driven by performance and meeting certain standards. And they would be things like the affordability of a University of Illinois degree, the access and diversity, the completion statistics like completion rates 4-year, and also the success of our student body once they become graduates in the workplace and in society. We want to keep track of all of that, have that on the website. That's what we bring to the state. And in return, the state gives us a planning horizon that we can perform against. That would be, frankly, like night and day from where we are today. And so we've shopped that around extensively in Springfield. And we have the University of Illinois caucus, bipartisan caucus, has agreed to co-sponsor the bill. We think this would be a pioneering thing. It may not happen overnight because things don't necessarily fall into place instantly, but that's part of our strategic thinking. Then the next one is an institution of and for our students, students being the italicized word there. And here we seek to build a diverse, multicultural, and welcoming community, welcoming to all, no matter from which vantage point, ethnic background, racial, sexual orientation. We want to be welcoming. It shouldn't be possible to feel alienated or alone on a University of Illinois campus, and that requires a commitment, because you can actually, in big institutions, get lost sometimes. So we want that. We want a comprehensive enrollment, and we think growth strategy. We think we can grow our enrollment. We have 80,000 students now. Total public higher ed in Illinois is 200,000, so we're almost half of the total. And there are some unmet needs in the Illinois populace. Some people who get left behind, some people who don't have the financial wherewithal to get into a world-class educational setting. And we need to reach down and bring people up. The ladder needs to be, it's still a ladder, you still got to do your homework and so forth, but it's still difficult to get into our university. But we want to think that through. And that means sizes of classrooms, numbers of professors, facilities, campus, what happens here, what happens in other facilities. A reimagined student-focused teaching and learning, and I haven't probably stressed this enough, it's all about the students. The student experience is the centerpiece, and particularly with technologies evolving the way they are with distance education and with hybrid models of pedagogical offerings. We want to be at the leading edge of that evolution, but with a student focus, not a bottom line business focus, but a student focus. And then rich and varied cultural experiences at home and away, with all of that you could imagine bringing in. Then lastly, experiential learning and career guidance. Again, with the mantra is access, affordability, completion, and then success. And we want to track success, which means when you graduate, we want to know what happens with our 700,000 alumni. We want them to feel part of a lifelong learning community. We want them to feel connected. And part of that is self-interest, because of our 700,000 alumni, only about 8% give back to the university. If we could grow that to 12%, it would fill a lot of holes in what goes on here. So philanthropy, connection to the lifelong learning experience. And we start early on day one when the students arrive, and it's about career guidance and mentoring and advisement. The third pillar is tomorrow's university today. So today is so we got Illinois students today so far. This means a lot of things, but it means we want to model, we don't want to fine tune, we want to leap into the best of the breed, not catching up with anybody, but really exemplify what you might think of as a 22nd century university. What does it look like? What does the next generation of public universities look like with research, healthcare delivery, education, connection to public good through economic involvement? And so there's a sort of an urgency about this one. A world-class access, affordable, completion, and success for students. There those are. Innovative technology to enhance learning and discovery. we're good at that, and we should take advantage of that technological. A lifelong, I've mentioned that already, sustainable environmental practices everywhere and throughout. Distinctive identities for each of the universities. So this is not about homogenizing or holding anything back. It's about taking advantage of the diversity, institutional diversity, in a systematic way. Intense collaboration across disciplines and with partners, and excellence, efficiency, integrity, and stewardship everywhere and always. And that means we may have to do more for less. We will have to streamline administration. We'll have to live with a budgetary envelope, but we can optimize around it, and we can find other revenue sources. And with a student-centered approach, we can be the world-class institution that is worthy of this state. Last one is research and scholarship with impact. So impact here again, Illinois students impact today, I guess is the verbless sentence, right? Culture of discovery, entrepreneurship, and thoughtful risk-taking. Don't want to be in the I-dotting, crossing T's. We want to be not just analyzing what challenges are out there, but solving those challenges. And they're grand challenges that this century faces. Food security, fresh water availability, conflict avoidance, socioeconomic inequality in big cities, urbanizing, solving cancer, healthcare distribution networks, affordable. These are big challenges, and they cut all across the academies, not just biologists and STEM specialists, but the humanities and the social sciences, and that exists in situations like this with a richness that's unmatched in industry or anywhere else or in government. So we want to step up to that. Brilliant collaborative faculty, supported, nurtured, rewarded, retained, and recruited. World-class innovation, which means disclosures, patents, participation in new business creation, startups, entrepreneurs in residence, internship opportunities for students, and everything there. And then students as colleagues, full participants and partners, and deep scholarship and multidisciplinary vitality. And I have to emphasize that that fundamentally includes the humanities and the arts as part and parcel of the overall offering. We need deep scholarship and participation. And as pointed out at the last town hall meeting, it's not only celebrating the human condition, it's understanding the human condition, how people make decisions under risk and uncertainty, and how the world and history unfolds in its full scope. So that's about the structure. There's more words, of course, online, and you can see it all. So if it's okay with you, Bob, I'll turn the podium over and leave some questions, maybe to stimulate some of the thinking that you might want to bring to bear. But please participate. And we have here, of course, our great leadership team that I'm going to count on to answer the tough questions.
Yeah.
Okay, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Quinn.
Yeah.
Thank you. All right. Thank you.
I should have said thanks, Alex, for your hospitality.
Right.
I should have said that. Really appreciate it.
Well, we have about 45 minutes for questions that we can take. And I also, in addition to our deans here in the front row, I'd like to thank Dr. Bartels for being here, our Dean of College Pharmacy, and Dr. Rosenberger, our Director of Nursing here, and obviously we have Dr. Stagnaro-Green. So thank you very much as well for your leadership. If you want to ask a question, there's a button that you can push right in front of you so that we can hear you. The floor is now open. So please feel free to ask any questions or comment on what you just heard. Yes. Would you please identify yourself too as well?
I'm Nathaniel. I'm an M2 student, and looking up from the report of the school that adjusting for inflation between 2001 and 2011, tuition increased 67% between 2001 and 2011. And so could you talk more specifically about how you're controlling costs, basically? How you're trying to bring the costs down? I know you touched on that a bit, but could you elaborate a little more?
Yeah, we have to commit to that in a serious
deep way. That's why enrollment strategy is part of it. If you look at that cost growth, tuition cost growth over that decade, it's meant that the cost to get an undergraduate education at University of Illinois used to be 0.2% of median family income. It's gone up to 0.28% of median family income. That's a lot. You got 3 kids, and the student debt has exploded in the country. It's $1 trillion of student debt, and it's actually matched by another $1 trillion of family debt to support the students. So it's a bit of a crisis, and we have already sort of shown our mettle, I think, in 2 years in a row of 0 tuition growth. It's actually very hard to go negative in tuition because of built-in 4-year guarantees, et cetera. But we've gone 0% with the board's approval and understanding. We've not grown our tuition for 2 years. And this year we kept the fees down as well. And that's a statement, given, if you think about it, given this budget uncertainty, it would be tempting, let's put it that way, to just raise tuition, which would essentially be a cost shift from the government of Illinois to the families of Illinois. So we're not going down that path. And it's going to be a multi-year commitment. And as part of the compact that I'm talking about, we will put numbers in play that will be negotiated with the government, and the university then would proceed along that known path towards making education affordable. I would say, I know Christoph is in the audience too and can help with this, but we have also, in that same time frame, increased our financial aid, I think 3-fold or 4-fold, perhaps 4-fold, to where it is today. It's over $138 million financial aid. That's funding that comes out of the university to support students who can't pay the tuition rate. So we have to grapple that to the ground, and it's a hydra, it's a monster, and it's got a lot of heads. So I think tuition, you rightly pointed out, it has grown, and it's grown too much, and we now have to restrain it seriously, particularly given the budgetary circumstances of the state. Christoph, did I get it right? Yeah.
Thank you for that question. Any other questions, comments? Thoughts about what this institution means to not only the community but the state? Yes.
President Clean, thank you for being here, and
Thank you.
everybody else. I was wondering if you could comment a little bit about the Polytechnic Institute. My guess is that's something that most of us are not familiar with the concept and how that fits into the strategic plan.
Yeah.
So the question, I think, was about the
Nice.
Well, thank you.
Alex, you want to
From your students.
you want to just repeat that one more time, Alex?
Sure, I'll hold it down this time. What I was saying, you always learn from your students more than you teach them. So the questions I was asking President Colleen, if he could talk about the Polytechnic Institute, what that is and how that fits into the strategic plan.
Yeah, thank you for that question. You've obviously read the document, and you've homed in on something. It may change, the language may change. It may not survive as the Polytechnic, but the idea will. And the idea is we have these assets. We have 3 universities. We have multiple campuses, including Rockford. We have the extension service that is ubiquitous almost in Illinois. Illinois as a state needs some fiscal help. It's got a massively underfunded pension system. You cannot grow or cut your way out of this. You cannot tax or cut your way out of it. You've got to grow your way out of it. So how do you grow a state? And what's our responsibility as a university system to help the state grow and prosper? Well, we've got to do a number of things. We've got to educate talent at scale, which we do. We've got to retain that talent to provide them opportunities for participation in civic society and so forth. And we've got to retain our treasury so that we're not leaking our financial resources elsewhere. And if we can do that, it requires economic revitalization and development in the state of Illinois. So we're signing up here to participate and actually lead that effort. And the Polytechnic idea is to do that, and I think in a very sensible way. Rather than say we're going to try to be all things to all people, we're going to focus on regional economies. For example, Rockford. For example, Peoria. and see what the talent base is, what the educational needs are, what the opportunities are in the industry, what the possibilities are for an entrepreneurial innovation ecosystem, and use our assets to deploy to make those things happen. And so the Polytechnic idea was that you have a nodal structure. You have these campuses and universities, and then you have nodes that are really driven by development of the regional economies, but in a way that benefits the students. So students can come and go, work in, get internships, participate, maybe get jobs, maybe start companies in regions. So the Polytechnic is sort of a thought experiment that will have a broader, more statewide impact of the University of Illinois through these major research and development and economic innovation nodes connected together as a nodal network. We call that the Polytechnic. I'm not sure if that is enough, but I know that was a mouthful, but regional economies are the way to go to lift the whole state. Obviously, Chicago is a dominant player as well, and Chicago's urban innovation in Chicago is critically important, but the rest of the state can't fall behind, and so we have a real role there. And I think, you know, we just met with the editorial board, and I think of the Rockford paper, and I think there's a thirst for this here. I'd like to learn more about your ideas about how that might be done, and some educational gaps and competency gaps that university could help fill in Rockford.
Dr. Azar, how?
Oh,
okay, so, okay.
Well, you can answer.
I can
Yes.
make a comment. Is this working?
Yes. Yes.
Maybe two comments. One is about the first statement you made about the public
Can you hear?
impact. And us being here predominantly a health science campus, I think it resonates a lot on both fronts. There, the public, I think, is starting to think that education and even healthcare are private goods rather than public goods. And I think it's very important, even the title that you showed, that this is a public good. What we are doing is not only good for ourselves, the beneficiaries from education and from healthcare, and also the providers. We are providing by educating people and by providing better health to the public, which is what's being done on this campus, we are actually improving the public. This is a public good. And I know you agree on that, and it was very nice to see it as being the title. And I hope this doesn't get away from the document as more edits happen. The second thing, and again, I have to talk on the medicine side, and maybe I'm sure Jerry can talk about pharmacy, and Dr. Rosenberger can talk about nursing. But this campus, we've been very, very fortunate to have a very energetic, thoughtful, and a publicly engaged leader of the College of Medicine, Dr. Alex Stagnaro Green, who really has been a blessing, not only for Rockford, but the whole College of Medicine. And I've seen him engage people here and try to build many projects that include the community and move things forward, and we don't see ourselves as just physicians in the case of the College of Medicine, but again, public servants who are doing great things. And everything you mentioned, the four pillars, even though there wasn't the word medicine or health in them, they are exactly what we do. I mean, Illinois, this is an example of a part of the University of the College of Medicine that has branches all over Illinois, and we exemplify that. You could use this campus and us as an example for that. What was second? The students. Well, I mean, we're all about the students, making the students our focus, and Alex is well known nationwide among all medical schools as being somebody who helps LCME for accrediting medical schools to provide the best education. And we are now transforming the curriculum thanks to his efforts, and we're making the curriculum of the College of Medicine between Peoria and Rockford and Chicago one curriculum that makes it easy for students to move from one place to another. All the strength of one campus can help the others, etc. Maybe Alex can comment about that. And and this also captures the now thing, meaning trying to transform the future but doing today. Our LCME and transformation, moving the M1s to Rockford, is a step in that direction, and Alex is doing that. And the fourth point was the impact. And that's why I made this whole thing, so that you don't think I only remembered impact.
That's
but
impressive.
I took notes. And I've heard you say it more than once.
Okay. Well, consistency
so,
is good.
Yeah, but the impact, we have something that, and again, members of the College of Medicine here know it, because Alex and I have been talking about this. There is a company that surveyed 6 million consumers about the quality of care they've been receiving, so they can rank their physicians. The problem is, I was trying to check the name of the company and I forgot, but it's well known. We're not trying to...
Vital statistics.
Vitals, yeah. I was going to say I don't want to brag about the company, but what the company did is they looked at the top 5% of physicians. 5%. And then they have many, many things to rank different physicians according to the people receiving the care, the patients. And of the 5%, they looked back and say, where did they train? And the University of Illinois College of Medicine ranked #1. Why? Not only because of size, but it is scope multiplied by quality equals impact. We didn't put an exponent to any of these, but we ended up showing an example of what impact is from a College of Medicine, and many of these doctors graduated from Rockford. So we're very proud of that, and again, I can see how the 4 pillars fit exactly in what at least the College of Medicine component of this campus exemplifies.
Good. Wonderful.
So
Wonderful.
in fair, Jerry, do you have?
I don't think I can add anything.
We'll have to
That's,
get pharmacy. Come on, Dr.
No,
Bauman.
I don't think I can.
Right.
I'm good.
Can
No,
I,
I completely agree with that.
since the questions come out, keep them coming, but can we get a show of hands? You've seen a framework. Would you subscribe to such a framework? Can you put your hands up if you think this would be something you'd feel proud about and could be an advocate for and could participate with? And okay, thank you very much. That's most everybody. So there may be a few people with questions about missing pieces. Yes, go for it.
Could you identify yourself again?
Yes, absolutely. I'm Craig Davenport with the National Center for Rural Health Professions and the director of the RMED program. And not so much a question, more of a comment and a to commend you all for this work. I loved talking about the horizontal aspect of it with the other campuses, but what I really appreciated was the vertical aspect, the K-12 connection pipeline. It's long been our philosophy with the National Center through our pipeline programs, through the AHEC network that we have on the campus. And so I commend you for doing that, and I would challenge you to spread that across the entire campus for pipeline programming, K-12. We have a lot of kids in rural communities that don't yet know that they can go to college or haven't heard that message. And I think, between the various campuses in the state and UIC in Springfield, Urbana, Peoria, Rockford, getting that message out, I think, needs to be the foundation of this whole project. And I think that's the success that we've had and would be the success of the program itself.
Well, thank you very much for that comment. This issue of getting the message out comes out at every town hall meeting. And I think there's a general recognition now that I share that we're not getting the message out sufficiently, even what's going on now, let alone what could be. And so I think out of this is going to come, some of the things you're talking about are implementation rather than framing, but I think the messaging, branding, marketing, to use some, business terms, are going to be needed in order to reach people and to connect and to demonstrate. One thing that's happened, I think, and you mentioned the public good, private good thing, is there's been slippage of the reputation of public higher education over you don't have to pick up a newspaper, and of course there's been a lot of negativity in newspapers, but it's amazing how how beaten up sometimes it gets. And I've got a potted theory for that you may disagree with, but I think as the media comes under duress, the newsrooms are smaller, fewer people looking for quick wins, negative wins, because they sell newspapers, get people angry, and then you get comments in blogs, and it looks like things are happening. And the easiest place to go is public higher ed, where it's all transparent, it's out there, it's taxpayer-based, and if you look hard enough, you can find something to complain about. So we've got to do a messaging. We got to just have a turbocharge messaging, not to hype or be exaggerating, I don't think. And that's going to cost some money. And that will be criticized. We're spending money on messaging and billboards and things, but I think that's where you're going, is that, and particularly in rural Illinois, there's a big gap. There's an attainment gap in this city that the editorial board was talking about. Only 20% have baccalaureate degrees. National average is 28%. What's up here? And it's in part the whole pathway and pipeline. So I appreciate your comment, and what I hear is messaging, and I've heard that a lot.
There's another aspect, if I may add, to the rural medicine part, is that there's a good story to tell at the end about the impact also. Correct me about the number. By reaching out to the pipeline and working hard, our program, and again, I get no credit except bragging about it, places physicians back in their communities at the rate of 70 some, if not 80%, meaning roughly 4 out of 5 doctors who are recruited through this mechanism from Illinois go back to their own communities. Probably if I had asked before what would be the general impression, you'd say 1 out of 5, but it's 4 out of 5. Am I right, or am I exaggerating? Highest in the nation, emulated. Wow. So this is...
I didn't know that.
So when you say it's a public good, now you can say, here's a great example.
Yeah.
The RMed program in Rockford, where they work hard, they go through the pipeline, they bring these physicians to medical school, and then after they finish, they go back to their own communities. I mean, where can you find an equally strong message? You can't. This is...
Well, I want to add to that just for one, over here. Sorry. So I just want to add for a second, Dr. Davenport, Craig is a graduate of our RMed program. You know, in some ways he's a failure because he's worked with us in a city for a couple of years, but as of May, he's going back into his rural community. So this is kind of tongue-in-cheek, but just to let you know that Dr. Davin, so 81% exactly, you know, is a wonderful example of the type of individuals the program has graduated.
That's really exciting to hear. And we got our head of communications right over there, Tom Hardy. Can we feed him that? We can have a press release on that, just on that.
We've definitely got maps we can forward and pictures.
And that's exciting.
So I'm going to take your question in a minute. I just want to say we have a very strong College of Nursing here, and I don't want to put Dr. Rosenberger on the spot, but they've got a great team that works together, and I know you're doing a number of things in interdisciplinary practice, but the College of Nursing and the 6 campuses we have across the state of Illinois are very, very important. So I didn't want the men to dominate here because we're very proud of what's occurring in the College of Nursing here and across the state. So if you have any comments, please.
Thank you, Dr. Barish. I don't want to brag, but we're also #1 for the College of Nursing in the state of Illinois.
Yes.
That's fantastic.
Yes.
Dr. Rosenberger, do you like what you see? You do.
Oh, and now Jerry wants to get in, okay.
Now it's my turn.
Just, Jerry, hold it up close to your right.
Okay. Is that on? Okay. I was just going to say that, I think clearly the Rockford campus has distinguished itself in the rural medicine and rural healthcare area. There's no question about it. I think the other area that it really has an opportunity in is really interprofessional education, which, on the Chicago campus, really challenged to do that because it's big, lots of students, and we're isolated geographically by buildings. Each college has its own building. Here, you're all in the same building, and it's smaller. And so I think you all, if I could point to a campus of our healthcare setting that is doing the most in interprofessional education, I think the Rockford campus is clearly ahead of everybody else. And I think that's something that, you know, should be publicized and made known, because I think it's an attractive feature for future students. So that's my 2 cents.
Thank you, Jerry. Yes.
Thank you. Mark McDowell from the National Center.
If you could just talk a little.
Mark McDowell from the National Center. All my deans are here since I'm faculty in pharmacy and medicine, and work with our farm and RMed. Just to complement the comments about RMed, our farm percentage returning to rural is similar, 80% or more. That's also a new program, but it's graduates are similarly returning to rural practice. Just one comment on your an idea. You know, the putting on one of my business background hats. There's the concept of customer feedback, and the world is changing rapidly. And in business, since we're using that analogy, there's a lot of talk about being nimble and adjusting your product as times change. And certainly in the environment we're in, with all the people watching over what's happening, I think that's important. So if there, I don't know if it's a part of it, I haven't carefully reviewed the plan, but it seems like if we could have a ongoing stakeholder feedback loop for your plan or your implementation, that would be helpful to you in several regards in terms of what in business would be adjusting the product for skills, attributes that employers would like to see. I mean, I think we have great graduates coming out of the medicine and pharmacy programs, but times change. People have things they'd like to see more of or less of in the skill set of graduates. And also, put on my public health hat, there are communities who are stakeholders and receivers of the skills of the graduates of U of I, who probably may not know who's graduated from the U of I. It's in their community, but those could be pointed out, and employers could give feedback about attributes they'd like to see for any kind of skill set coming out of the U of I, because I think it could be anything. I won't characterize what people might say. I'm just suggesting the importance of a feedback loop, such as happens all the time in the business world, so that we can adjust.
Thank you very much for that really interesting comment. I don't think we framed it at all. We talk about transparency and accountability and report cards, but not feedback loops. So you're taking it to another level. I really appreciate that.
I know that you're doing some innovative things in regards to even recruitment of students, your rural programs and community engagement. And maybe, Alex, you'd like to say a little bit about how you're actually engaging people in the community and trying to bring in some of the students.
Well, I think there's a, thank you, Bob. Probably I'll defer some of it to Craig Davenport and Mike Lasser when it comes to the National Center. But in terms of the community, we have worked very closely with the Rockford Public School System, with the superintendent, Aaron Jarrett. There's new leadership in the school system. It's been a public school system that's been under duress for the last 10 to 15 years, resulting in some of the statistics, President Colleen, that you talked about. Even in terms of graduation of the high school students, a third of the students who start in pre-K don't make it to graduation. Only about 25% of the students go on to college, and only a small subset of those will continue after 1 year, let alone 4 years. And that's why one of the components of the plan that's been floated, which is to working with individuals who have some college credit but don't have a degree, is something I think very appealing to the Rockford community, although unfortunately we would have to even take a step back and go down to the GED level. But just across the board, we've developed very strong ties with the public school system, with the private school system, as well as the religious schools, to open up our doors in a variety of ways, sit on their strategic plans, and take the attitude that our College of Medicine is a public trust where our goal is to improve the health, well-being, and the education of our society. And so that's what we've been doing across the board.
So this is very consistent with elements of the plan.
It's perfectly consistent and music to my ears. I don't know if Craig or Mike want to talk about the incredible work they do in terms of pipeline.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm Michael Glasser. I'm Associate Dean for Rural Health Professions. And I just want to reiterate and talk about this fact of looking and recruiting students. Our students come from the smallest communities across Illinois. The whole concept is grow your own. Find the people who come from those rural communities and want to go back and practice. And that's why we have such a large success rate. These are people who really are oriented to going back and serving the community that they come from. So, you know, we're all across Illinois. I think that's great. We're looking at people who probably weren't going to go to medical school until they learned about our program, they learned about pharmacy, and now we want to move that to other disciplines as well. But so we have an impact all across Illinois. The other big part of it is, once you get these doctors back there, they have a tremendous economic impact on those local communities. They're providing services that would not otherwise be in Illinois. So I'm a little concerned sometimes about the regional thing, because you look at Rockford, we are regional to you, but we're really across the state.
Yeah. Are there any medical students in the rural program in the room?
Right here, yeah. Two. Would
Could
you like to comment on your experience or anything
Just
that you've heard?
describe a little
Yes.
bit where you came from? Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, my name is Joe Hancox from Quincy, Illinois, originally. I guess it's considered large by the RMed program. I got kind of bombarded with questions about that when I first interviewed. But my mom has been a nurse for over 30 years. Haven't had any other doctors, physicians in the family. Applied to medical school and was given an application for the RMed program. I guess they kind of sought me out as someone from a small town. I hadn't heard about it before, so there's a huge piece of that outreach that was very beneficial to me. But through the coursework, M1 and now an M2 year, we have providers, we have interdisciplinary studies going on with all members of a rural community, whether that be healthcare, social workers, lawyers. We just had a couple lawyers at our last meeting talking about all aspects of healthcare and how it plays into all aspects of life in rural America. And it's tough to separate the two when you have a community of several thousand instead of several million. You know, when the hospital is the largest employer in the area, when healthcare is the largest employer in the area, as a doctor, you're seen as a leader almost immediately as soon as you get there. And I think we're learning those values and those lessons throughout RMed. It's pretty great.
Thank you. Like to comment? Yes.
Hello, my name is Abby. I'm from Oregon, Illinois, which is about 45 minutes from here. And I don't really know what to add to what Joe said other than it really is a great program. I'm more of a non-traditional student. I took some time off and finished my master's degree and then came back to medical school. So it's such a great program. Like Joe said, you get a lot of experience out in the community, interdisciplinary experience. We work a lot with our farm students. And it provides a lot of opportunity for students who wouldn't normally think, like they said, think about going to medical school, being from a small town, and so it's a really great program. So
One of the things, President Killeen, that I've seen here is that the students from the colleges here seem to interact even more so because of the small community, and you know each other, and it's a wonderful learning environment for them. So, yes, Dr. Fortes.
And that's just adding to what Jerry said about the interprofessional education part, our farm in the RMed program is really the only one that we know of in the whole country where pharmacy and medical students study together for 4 years. In the whole country, yes. There are other rural medicine programs, there are other rural pharmacy programs, but there aren't any that the students study together for 4 years and complete the education and learn to work with each other, and when they graduate and go back to their community to practice together in a collaborative way. So that's the whole purpose of our program, and we're, as far as we know, the only one that does that.
So can I ask the obvious question then, what's next with this wonderful program? And I remember going to see senior senator, and yeah, he, amongst other things, he told me that there was a real need for dental help in rural regions in Illinois. It was a massive unmet need, and that what could the University of Illinois do for that? And I was new, so I was kind of interested in that. So what's next? We got a successful, inspiring thing, and I wish our chair was here to hear it, because he would really resonate with this. What is
I
next?
think, Dimitri, you have a comment on the, right.
You guys took it to Thailand also, right?
Yes, again, I will give the same comment that Dimitri did, which is I've only been here 2 years, so I could claim very little credit for this. So Mike Glasser could comment much better than I can, but the College of Medicine maybe 8 or 9 years ago was approached by Princess Narathiwat University in southern Thailand to help them create a rural medical school where they were having real difficulties. And we developed a very close collaboration partnership, helped create that College of Medicine, and then Michael and I and a couple of others were there about 8 months ago to celebrate the opening of the hospital connected to it, as well as to sign our memorandum of understanding and increase the ties. But the rural medicine program, the rural pharmacy program is all part of the National Center of Rural Health Professions. And I don't want to change today's meeting from kind of Q&A on the strategic plan to discussion of it, but that has far-reaching components, including to Native American students around the country, where we're getting our first Native American student here in a year. So it's a real fascinating program and something I'm incredibly proud of, but take no credit except I'm a flag waver and supporter.
Well, maybe we could ask, you started this, so
Yes.
give us a sentence, a hook for this strategic plan that connects somehow to the rural.
You know, I think you have it in your 4 ideas there. You know, we serve Illinois totally. We are looking at students. We're student focused. I mean, we can't do it without educating and getting students back. We certainly we're making an impact, and we're doing it today. Look for tomorrow.
There you go.
Okay, so,
All right.
I think we're onto something here. Yes, we need a sentence or two on the rural.
Right.
Yeah, that would be
So
great.
we need something that you can
Yeah,
send
in
in.
your plan
for
right now, you mentioned rural twice, kind of in passing. Not as a criticism, but as you're
No, that's-
developing this, I think more.
No, but we want you to include it. That's why we're here.
No, that's
so
what I'm
that
saying,
we.
but in
That's
the
right.
current
This is the
one,
first
yeah,
draft.
yeah,
So, right.
I got it.
Go ahead.
The way I frame our healthcare mission is that we serve the underserved. In the Chicago area, we serve the underserved. This happens to be in urban. Here we serve the underserved. It happens to be in rural. So it's congruent.
And
So-
also, you know, it's community engagement, like you mentioned. And, you know, a unique part of our program is that for our students, we don't select them. We screen for the students, but we bring people from communities across Illinois, and they interview our students, and they select our students.
That's what I wanted you to comment on. I think you have farmers. I think you have the community engagement. How you choose your students, I think, is very unique, and engaging the community, engaging the leaders in rural America, rural Illinois. I know that you have a very diverse group who actually interview your students to come in here,
They are.
and hopefully we'll come back to those communities. So if you can just tell the president a little bit about that.
Yeah, we want to
we
have
have
our strategic plan that sings to
Right.
you.
Yeah.
Sounds like it's doing pretty well, actually. So far, so good. There must be some problems
Yes.
with it, but
Right.
this is a great example of impact.
Yes.
And so thank you for sharing.
I'm John Nettis. I'm in the College of Pharmacy. I just want to bring up something that was mentioned by the student, and I think it's an important thing, and it's a component within the College of Pharmacy, and that is being more attractive to non-traditional students one of the things that I noticed in our incoming pharmacy classes, we're getting a fair number of individuals who have had families, careers for some period of time, and are perhaps for the first time considering professional careers. And I think one of the things that we probably need to emphasize, and I haven't heard very much, is these non-traditional students, the students who are further along in their life where we can connect with them. And I think the regional campuses in particular are perhaps very well positioned to appeal to this group of students who I don't think are being served very well at present.
So in the strategic plan, connecting to the non-traditional student, especially in the rural areas as well?
Well, I think we have a place there
Yes.
that could be elaborated. It's sort of the lifelong piece and also the vertical integration of the educational pathways through, and we've also got the technology, which is distance education could be very helpful for some non-traditional learners with hybrid models that allow them more flexibility in time management. So, but I think that's a very good comment, and thank you for bringing
This
that.
is all done in an environment where there is discovery, research programs on campus, and the highest quality of care and education. When we look at the grades of medical students, look at campus, again, maybe Alex here takes some credit for that, and the people in the room. The students who graduate from this campus are among the best.
And I know in the College of Nursing, non-traditional students, and Dr. Rosenberger, would you want to comment as part of the strategic plan there?
Yes, we've been educating non-traditional students for many, many years using distance learning in the College of Nursing, and we've been very, very successful. Not only are we #1 in the state of Illinois for the College of Nursing, but we are ranked very highly in U.S. News and World Report for, I think it's now 6 out of our top 10 advanced practice nursing programs.
Good. Yes.
I'm John Holden. I'm a reproductive endocrinologist, clinical assistant professor in departments of family medicine and obstetrics and gynecology there. So my comment is, you prefaced the discussion today mentioning possibility of identifying an 800-pound gorilla, and I think we would all agree that a very important aspect of achieving all of these very worthy goals is money. And with the inability of our legislatures to figure out the true needs and way life runs, and not just a matter of shifting money around from those who have to perhaps worthy things, but a true collaboration between, I'm sorry about this, I don't have one of those muffler things.
There you go. No, he can, yeah. He's just going to take it off.
Does that work better? Yeah, much better. Okay. All right. The collaboration between industry and the college, the university, and in all aspects, all levels. And there, for a very long time, industry, that liaison has gotten a bad rap. But when done so at a very pure motives, much can be achieved, and I really do think that we can achieve both things: the win-win situation for both industry and for the university. So there's my 2 cents.
I agree with you. I think there are some cultural changes needed to really open up that passageway. I kind of think graphically, and I think in today's Illinois, the stool has 3 legs: private, public, governmental. Right now, the governmental leg is a little prosthetic or something, needs a little bit of welding. But the public-private could be really important in the next few years, I think. And we're the public standard bearer. And it's a wonderful, diverse economy in Illinois. Durable goods, transportation, aerospace, food and ag, finance, insurance. It's everything. And it's got a world city. So our state is blessed with private. What we do is pretty dumb. We export our best people, our good people, many of them. It's like one person leaves Illinois every 5 minutes, is what I gathered from reading. And we also export our treasury, as I said. So we've got to do a better job. So that public-private two-legged stool is stable as long as it's moving. I think that's how we walk, right? So we got to do a bit of that, I think. And then the governmental will come into play, I believe. And I think this impasse will get resolved. But that public-private thing may sound a bit threatening to the academy, you know. My goodness, we're the ivory tower. What do you mean, commerce? But it is the land grant idea. It was Abraham Lincoln's original idea. Let's have the academy participate in the agrarian economy. That was what it was all about. That led to extension and, you know, these amazing, and now we're just sort of updating it with a multifaceted new knowledge economy. So I agree with you, and the plan reflects it. A lot of people agree. So, and I don't think there's been much pushback on that yet. But it is the reward systems inside academia don't necessarily align with this public good flowing out through public-private partnerships fully. I don't think that happens fully. So we have to look at the implementation details are going to be interesting. We set our sights on something high, a big brass ring up there. We're going to have to get the right kind of elevators to reach for it. And I think this is one of those areas which is very exciting. There's a lot of low-hanging fruit, and Illinois certainly needs it. And it's a way to get the government back into the game of public good creation through good works. That's my story anyway.
So we have time for one more question in regards to the strategic plan. Any other comments? Anything else that you'd like to have added at this point in time? You've added a number of things, I think, and talked about the things that are important to you, important to the plan. Are there any other comments at this point in time? Yes, Dr. Kent, yes.
Kelsey Wojcik, I'm an M2 student. I was just, I wanted to know what are some of the challenges you anticipate and plans to overcome them for getting alumni involved, both financially and keeping them in the state. As you mentioned, they leave, so just wondering what some of those ideas are.
Well, I think this opportunity space needs to be revved up for opportunities, not for just that job, but the ability to move from job to job I think the young folks in particular, leaving not traditional learners out, but young folks often want to be in nice social settings and in a fluid environment where they have opportunities to grow and move around some. And I think we could be known for that. We could be better known for that. If the climate isn't conducive to that, and a graduate student, say, ends with a master's and there's nothing there in that field, then they will leave. They will leave, and they're recruited all the time so we need to work on the opportunity space, so it becomes a destination for people to stay. I think the funding aspect is very, very real, and then we need to make it exciting and interesting and welcoming and diverse. I think diversity adds so much to that equation, and so spinning things into the university as well as spinning things out, having that flux, I think is really important. I think it's easy to be asleep at the switch sometimes with these things. Past laurels sometimes are the biggest challenge. Oh, it's great here because we're rich but you go off the boil so fast. It's a competitive landscape. International institutions might eat our lunch unless we keep getting better and better. So I think complacency is a challenge and an enemy. It often is with high-performing institutions. You kind of lose traction a little bit, and we can't afford self-inflicted wounds of ethical lapses or things of integrity where it looks like everybody gets painted with the same black brush, right? If there's a, and so we've got to have our internal moral compass set so that we don't fall into those traps, I think. But this is all doable. I think University of Illinois is really the best thing the state has got going for it in terms of this more exciting future, and everybody needs it. So we'll give it a try. What do you say?
Well, thank you. Before I turn it back, oh yes, I'm sorry. Yes, our trustee.
Can I just make a couple
Yes,
comments?
absolutely.
Part answer to your question, in the overall plan, growing enrollment. I think if you come to our university and you have a great experience, you always be proud of your institution as long as it continues to function adequately. Just a couple comments, if I may. I think the outline here is excellent. I think we're putting our emphasis on the areas that are our priorities. And I think it's obvious everybody's very proud of this campus. And I can tell you as a board member, I think this campus is underappreciated throughout the entire university. So I don't know, maybe, I always try to toot our horn whenever I can, but maybe we could do something like have a board meeting here to try to raise awareness, one of our regular board meetings. You guys all want to come out from Chicago for that? It worked for me.
Right.
But then what else can, as a university, what else can we do for Rockford? I've been on the board now for a little over 6 years, and at one time, a few years back, I was approached by leaders in this community in the aerospace industry, and aerospace is really big in this neck of the woods, and they want to tap into our expertise. And as a public educational institution, we have the best aerospace expertise in this state. That's something we could do, and all of those endeavors would improve our image in this part of the state. You know, we're obviously closer to Wisconsin, and we're probably closer to Iowa than we are to any of the three major campuses geographically. And I think the University of Illinois is underappreciated in this region. And I can give you an example. My kids all went to public school at the Harlem School District, which is the next school district north of Rockford. And every year they have a senior assembly where they talk about all the awards given and where everybody's going to college. And it just amazes me every time I attend one of those, there may be only 2 or 3 kids going to Urbana, maybe 1 or 2 going to Chicago, maybe 1 or 2 going to Springfield, out of a graduating class of probably 450 or 500 kids. And it's an excellent school district. We've been very pleased with the education our kids got, and you know that there's tons of students there that would thrive at any one of our 3 campuses. And I don't know if it's because they don't know a lot of people who went to the University of Illinois, or their counselors don't push them that way, but I think the university could probably gain a lot by trying to improve that line of communication as well.
Thanks for that, Trustee Coates. I think there are opportunities to grow enrollment. You and I think agree on that, and the messaging thing and the recruitment thing is very important. One thing that's not fully appreciated is the value of a University of Illinois degree you can quantify. Our graduates earn like 30% more than the national norm for graduating seniors. So it's money in the pocket is the value of this degree. Plus the graduation rates are higher than the national norm for each of the category in each of the 3 campuses, main campuses. So we've got a product that's in demand, but we've been a little complacent, I think, particularly on sort of active recruiting and active management of the cost side of the equation. I think we've let that go a little bit to a point where it's easy for a family to say, well, it's cheaper in Iowa, so let's, and we can't go down that path very long. So.
Well, that was a nice end of the session. Thank you, Trustee Corus. Thank you. So I'm now going to turn it back over to the president, and thank you for your leadership team being here. And again, Trustee Corus, thank you. And the floor is all yours. President
Well,
Colleen.
just thank you for everybody for coming and for participating. And I guess I'm going away maybe a little complacent myself that nobody tore this edifice down today, but it sounds like it works in your setting. And that's very important feedback and positive feedback. And I've learned a lot about Rockford in my trips here, and I just learned a lot. So we're proud of what you do, and I think exciting developments are underway with the M1, M2 coming here, and the kind of residencies, and that's going to lead to growth and development. And I think the niche in rural education and the National Center is very important. So we're very proud of you. We'll bring the board here. Absolutely, we'll bring the board here. We'll cook on I think between the two of us, we should be able to arrange that. And then we could have a nice presentation on the impact and on the students and on the Illinois and on urgency would be great. So thanks so much for coming. Really appreciate it. And we'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
It's great.
Good to see you again.
Yeah, good to see you again. Yeah.
Hi.
And you're an M4 student,
I'm an
right?
M4 student,
Yeah, it's
yeah.
going well, is it?
It's going well.